Hello and welcome to tonight's special stream. I wanted to read some Lovecraft and I wanted to do it very late at night, so that's what we're doing. Ooh. And what we will be reading today are, at the very least, the Cats of Ulthar, Azathoth, Oblivione, and Dagon. And depending on how long, I don't know how long those are going to take, so depending on how long those take, we might read some more after that. But right now we're sticking strictly to Lovecraft, and if we get past those, we'll expand to the other writers who incorporated his lore and he accepted. But I think we're just going to jump right into it, if you don't mind. It is said that Ulthar, which lies beyond the river sky, no man may kill a cat. And this I can verily believe, as I gaze upon him with sitteth purring before the fire. For the cat is cryptic, and close to strange things which men cannot see. He is the soul of antique Egyptus, and bearer of tales from forgotten cities in I don't know how to say that, and Ophir. He is the kin of the jungle's lords, and heir to the secrets of hoary and sinister Africa. The Sphinx is his cousin, and he speaks her language, but he is more ancient than the Sphinx, and remembers that which she hath forgotten. And welcome, Ivan, by the way. Oop. In Ulthar, before ever the burgesses forbade the killing of cats, there dwelt an old carter and his wife who delighted to trap and slay the cats of their neighbors. Why they did this I know not, save that many hate the voice of the cat in the night, and take it ill that cats should run stealthily about yards and gardens at twilight. But whatever the reason, this old man and woman took pleasure in trapping and slaying every cat which came near to their hovel. And from some of the sounds heard after dark, many villagers fancied that the manner of slaying was exceedingly peculiar. But the villagers did not discuss such things which the old man and his wife, because of the habitual expression of the withered faces of the two, and because their cottage was so small and so darkly hidden under the spreading oaks at the back of the neglected yard. In truth, much as the owners of cats hated these odd folk, they feared them more. And instead of berating them as brutal assassins, merely took care that no cherished pet or monsieur should stray towards the remote hovel under the dark trees. When through some unavoidable oversight a cat was missed, the sound heard after dark, the loser would lament impotently, or console himself by thanking fate that it was not one of his children who had thus vanished. For the people of Ulthar were simple and knew not whence it is all cats first came. I actually just realized. The mic was a little far away, so there's probably the sound was semi-echoey. That should be fixed now. One day, a caravan of strange wanderers from the south entered the narrow cobbled streets of Ulthar. Dark wanderers they were, and unlike the other roving folk who pass through the village twice every year. In the marketplace they told fortunes for silver, and bought gay beads from the merchants. What was the land of these wanderers none could tell, But it was seen that they were given to strange prayers, and that they had painted on the sides of their wagons strange figures with human bodies and the heads of cats, hawks, rams, and lions, and the leader of the caravan wore a headdress with 2 horns and a curious disc betwixt the horns. There was in this singular caravan a little boy with no father or mother, but only a tiny black kitten to cherish. I said that weird. The plague had not been kind to him, yet had left him this small furry thing, with to mitigate his sorrow. I might sneeze. Hold up. Okay, lost my head for a second. Don't worry about that. Ugh. That sneeze was so bad I lost my place. The plague had not been kind to him, yet had left him with a small furry thing to mitigate his sorrow. And when one is very young, one can find great relief in the lively antics of a black kitten. So the boy, whom the dark people called Menz, smiled more often than he wept as he sate playing with the graceful kitten on the steps of an oddly painted wagon. On the 3rd morning, the wanderer's stay in Ulthar, Menez could not find his kitten, and as he sobbed aloud in the marketplace, certain villagers told him of the old man and his wife, and of the sounds heard in the night. And when he heard these things, his sobbing gave place to meditation, and finally to prayer. He stretched out his arms towards the sun and prayed in a tongue no villagers could understand, though indeed the villagers did not try very hard to understand, since their attention was mostly taken up by the sky and the odd shapes the clouds were assuming. It was very peculiar, but as the little boy uttered his petition, there seemed to form overhead the shadowy, nebulous figures of exotic things, of hybrid creatures crowned with horn-flanked discs. Nature is full of such illusions to impress the imaginative. That night the wanderers left Ulthar, and were never seen again, and the households were troubled when they noticed that in all the village there was not a cat to be found. From each hearth the familiar cat had vanished. Cats large and small, black, gray, striped, yellow, and white. Old Cranon, the burgomaster, swore that the dark folk had taken the cats away in revenge of the killing of Menez's kitten, and cursed the caravan and the little boy. But Neith, the lean notary, declared that the old carter and his wife were more likely persons to suspect, for their hatred for cats was notorious and increasingly bold. Still, no one durst complain to the sinister couple, even when little Attil, the innkeeper's son, vowed that he had at twilight seen all the cats of Ulthar in that accursed yard under the trees, pacing very slowly and solemnly in a circle around the cottage, 2 abreast, as if in performance of some unheard of rite of beasts. The villagers did not know how much to believe from the small boy, and though they feared that evil pair had charmed the cats to their death, they preferred not to chide the old carter till they met him outside his dark and repellent yard. So Ulthar went to sleep in vain anger. And when the people awakened at dawn, behold, every cat was back at his accustomed hearth. Large and small, black, gray, striped yellow, and white, none was missing. Very sleek and fat did the cats appear, and sonorous with purring content. The citizens talked with one another of the affair and marveled not a little. Old Cranon again insisted that it was the dark folk who had taken them, since cats did not return alive from the cottage of the ancient man and his wife. But all agreed on one thing, that the refusal of all the cats to eat their portions of meats or drink their saucers of milk was exceedingly curious, and for 2 whole days the sleek, lazy cats of Ulthar would touch no food, but only doze by the fire or in the sun. It was fully a week before the villagers noticed that no lights were appearing at dusk in the windows of the cottage under the trees. Then the lean Nith remarked that no one had seen the old man or his wife since the day the cats were away. In another week, the burgomaster decided to overcome his fears and call at the strangely silent dwelling as a matter of duty. Though in so doing, he was careful to take with him Shang, the blacksmith, and Thule, the cutter of stone, as witness. And when they had broken down the frail door, they found only this: 2 cleanly picked human skeletons on the earthen floor, and a number of singular beetles crawling on the shadowy corners. There was subsequently much talk among the burgesses of Ulthar. Zath, the coroner, disputed at length what Nith, the lean notary, and Cranon and Shang and Thule were overwhelmed with questions. Even little Atul, the innkeeper's son, was closely questioned and given a sweet meat as reward. They talked of the old carter and his wife, of the caravan of dark wanderers, of small Menace and his black kitten, of the prayer of Menace and of Sky during the prayer, of the doing of the cat of the night the caravan left, and of that was later found in the cottage under the dark trees in the repellent yard. And in the end, the burgesses passed that remarkable law which is told of by traders in Hathig and discussed by travelers in near, namely, that in Ulthar no man may kill a cat. Ooh. Man, that is understandable, but that is a hell of a crash out. It says, oh, hey, kid. Yeah, we got, like, this couple who just kills cats in our town, so, like, your little kitten is just got 86. We're sorry, buddy. And just immediately turns around, prays to Satan or some shit, and just gets those people killed. That escalated quickly. Ooh. Okay. Good one to start out with, though. Very short. To be fair, I'd probably pray to Satan if somebody killed my dog. Isn't that right, Gunner? Oh, you good boy. Go back to bed. Okay. I don't know anything about this one. Well, at least the last one I knew was about cats. Okay. Azathoth. Probably some eldritch god with a name like that. When age fell upon the world and wonder went out of the minds of men, When gray cities reared to the smoky skies, tall towers grim and ugly, in whose in whose shadow none might dream of the sun or of spring's flowering meads. Azathoth, the blind idiot creator god, and the fair enough. Okay, actually, I'm just gonna restart that one because I messed up a little, but I'm gonna restart Azathoth. So, Azathoth. When the age fell upon the world and the wonder went out of the minds of men, when gray cities reared to the smoky skies, tall towers grim and ugly, in whose shadow none might dream of the sun or of spring's flowering meads, when learning stripped earth of her mantle of beauty, and poets sang no more save of twisted phantoms, see with bleared and inward looking eyes. When these things had come to pass, the childish hopes had gone away forever. There was a man who's traveled out of life on a quest into the spaces whither the world's dreams had fled. Well, this is really short. Sorry. This little thing down here, that's the end. This is that's 3 paragraphs. Okay, we're probably gonna have time to read more things than what we're reading right now, so if you have suggestions, hold on to them. Hold on to them if you have any suggestions. Okay. Of the name and the abode of this man but little is written, for they were of the waking world only, yet it is said that both were obscure. It is enough to know that he dwelt in a city of high walls where sterile twilight reigned, and that he toiled all day among the shadow and turmoil, coming home at evening to a room whose one window opened not on the fields and groves, but on a dim court where other windows stared in dull despair. From the casement one might see only walls and windows, except sometimes when one leaned far out and peered aloft at the small stairs that passed. And because mere walls and windows must soon drive to madness a man who dreams and reads much, the dweller in the room used night after night to lean out and peer aloft to glimpse some fragment of things beyond the waking world and the grayness of tall cities. After years, he began to call the slow sailing stars by name, and to follow them in fancy when they glided regretfully out of sight, till at the length his visions opened to many secrets, vistas whose existence no common eye suspects, and one night a mighty gulf was bridged, and the dream-haunted skies swelled down to the lonely watcher's window to merge with the close air of his room and make him a part of their fabulous wonder. There came to the room wild streams of violet midnight glittering with dust of gold, vortices of dust and fire swirling out of the ultimate spaces and heavy with the perfumes from beyond the worlds. Opiate oceans poured there, litten by suns that the eye may never behold, and having in their whirlpools strange dolphins and sea nymphs of unrememberable deeps. Noiseless infinity eddied around the dreamer and wafted him away without even touching the body that leaned stiffly from the lonely window. And one day's not counting in men's calendars, the tides of far spheres bear him gently to join the dreams for which he longed, the dreams that men have lost, and in the course of many cycles they tenderly left him sleeping on a green sunrise shore. A green shore fragrant with lotus blossoms and starred by red camelots. Wait. I don't know if that's correct. I did say short stories, but I did not expect, again, I need to double check that. 1, 2, that says 3 paragraphs. Ooh. Yeah, we're gonna get done with this in under an hour, I think. Yeah, this is about as long as... This is shorter than the Cats of Ulthar. You can't see it, but the bar is right here. But the bar for Oblivion is... I can just tell it's shorter. Ooh, the bar is bigger. Okay. So, I'm gonna take a drink before starting. I'm gonna guess this is about Oblivion. Just a wild guess. Just Oblivion. Just wild guess. Has to do with something with Oblivion. Don't know to make a Tom Cruise reference, but that one would be a little too niche, so let's just go with Bethesda. Ooh, eat your heart out, Todd Howard. Okay. When the last days were upon me, and the ugly trifles of existence began to drive me to madness like the small drops of water that torturers let fall ceaselessly upon one spot of their victim's body, I loved the irradiate refuge of sleep. In my dreams, I found little... I found little of the beauty I had vainly sought in life, and wandered... Wait, wander? Oh. Wandered through the old gardens and enchanted woods. God damn it, I'm gonna have to start that one from the top. My apologies. Not happy with... I don't think anyone's happy with Todd Howard right now. Nobody's been happy with him for like a decade. After he re-released Skyrim for the 50th time, people were kind of just ran out of patience with him. But I'm gonna restart that just because I messed up that a little in the coughing. Okay. When the last days were upon me, and the ugly trifles of existence began to drive me to madness like the small drops of water that torturers let fall ceaselessly upon the one spot in their victim's body, I loved the irradiate refuge of sleep. In my dreams, I found a little of the beauty I had vainly sought in my life, and wandered through the old gardens and enchanted woods. Once, when the wind was soft and the scented, I heard the south calling, and sailed endlessly and languorously under the strange stars. Once, when the gentle rain fell, I glided in a barge down a sunless stream under the earth till I reached another world of purple twilight, iridescent arbors, and undying roses. And once I walked through a golden valley that led to shadowy groves and ruins, and ended in a mighty wall green with antique vines and pierced by a little gate of bronze. Many times I walked through the valley, and longer would I pause in the spectral half-light where the giant trees squirmed and twisted grotesquely, and the gray ground stretched damply from trunk to trunk, sometimes disclosing the mold-stained stones of buried temples, and always the goal of my fancies was the mighty vine-grown wall which the little gate of bronze therein. After a while, as the days of waking became less and less bearable from their grayness and sameness, I would often drift in opiate peace through the valley and the shadowy groves and wonder how I might seize them from my eternal dwelling place. Phone, you stop interrupting me, so help me God. So that I need no more crawl back to a dull world, stripped of interest in new colors. And as I looked upon the little gate in mighty wall, I felt that beyond it lay a dream country from which once it was entered there would be no return. Fucking... There is a Cthulhu dating game now that you mentioned that, Ivan, though I don't think I'll be playing it. But you never know. I say I think, but you never know. Oh, God. Because of course there's a Cthulhu dating game, because, you know, it's 2025. It just had to happen. Lovecraft could not imagine the horrors of man. Okay. Okay, so I lost my place for a half second. So each night in sleep I strove to find the hidden latch in the gate in the ivied antique wall, though it was exceedingly well hidden. And I would tell myself that the realm beyond the wall was not more lasting merely, but more lovely and radiant as well. When one night in the dream city of Zakarion, I found a yellowed papyrus. Undertale. I thought he was white and red, but you know, what do I know? Filled with thoughts of dream sages who dwelt of old in that city, and who... Oh, wait, he found a shiny papyrus. Oh, okay, I understand now. Who were too wise ever to be... Who were too wise ever to be born in the waking world? Therein were written many things concerning the world of dream, and among them was lore of a golden valley, and a sacred grove with temples, and a high wall pierced by a little bronze gate. When I saw this lore, I knew that it touched on the scenes I had haunted, and I therefore read long in the yellow papyrus. Not the female Cthulhu game. It is that one. Ooh. Sucker for love. Fucking. That's a terrible pun, which means it's a great pun. Sucker for love. Oh, God. Fucking squid tentacles. Okay. Well, actually, octopus. Is Cthulhu an octopus or a squid? He's a mollusk. I'm pretty sure he's an eldritch god beyond comprehension, but let's not focus on that. Some of the dream sages wrote gorgeously of the wonders beyond the irrepassable gate, but others told of horror and disappointment. I knew not which to believe, yet longed more and more to cross forever into the unknown land. For doubt and secrecy are the lure of lures, and no new horror can be more terrible than the daily torture of the commonplace. So when I learned of the drug which would unlock the gate and drive me through, I resolved to take it when next I awakened. Last night, I swallowed the drug and floated dreamily into the Golden Valley and the shadowy grove, and when I came this time to the antique wall, I saw that the small gate of bronze was ajar. From beyond came a glow that weirdly lit the giant twisted trees and the tops of the buried temples, and I drifted on songfully, expectant of the glories of the land from which I should never return. But as the gate swung wider and the sorcery of the drug and dream pushed me through, I knew that all sights and glories were at an end. For in that new realm was neither land nor sea, but only the white void of unpeopled and illimitable space. So happier than I had ever dared to hope to be, I dissolved again into the native infinity of crystal oblivion from which the daemon life had called me for one brief, desolate hour. Oh, it's also the name. It's also the name of the fucking game. I'm sorry, I'm more antiquely trained in reading, and if you don't put quotation marks over it, I would never know. You have to put it in italics for me to understand. You must. Okay, thank you. Actually, I should write that down so I don't forget. Ooh. But. I can't imagine what we could play to. Well, no, there's plenty of games we could do for a Lovecraft month. Not only Lovecraft games, but like Lovecraft inspired games. Ooh. Okay. Dagon, the longest story we have here, but we're probably gonna finish it in an hour. So if you have any suggestions, so we're gonna finish it within the hour, probably is what I meant. So if you have any suggestions, again, hold on to them until we're done with this. But we have actually read Dagon before. I can't remember if it was for the 1-year anniversary stream or if it was for the 1 year, like the New Year stream. I don't know, we did reading on both, I think, but we read Dagon before, but I want to read it again. Dagon. And the reason I'm reading this one again is not simply because I'm familiar with it, but because it's a guy going crazy, and one of my favorite things to read is a dude going absolutely batshit. My favorite thing I've ever read on stream, not the best thing, my favorite thing I've ever read on stream is The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, because that one was just so fucking fun to read. Sorry for cursing. That one was just so fun to read. Just a guy slipping into, like, just a guy who's just a paranoid schizophrenic, just being a paranoid schizophrenic. It was just so much fun of just him just going mad with his, like, own insanity, just sitting there, and he's just like, they know I'm guilty, and they're mocking me. Well, you know what? I am guilty. And it's just like this guy. This guy's wonderful. Fucking kills a dude because he's like, that dude, he watches me while I sleep. And I was like, what do you mean? He sleeps with one eye open. He's gonna kill me, so I gotta kill him first. This is like, but that's Edgar Allan Poe. We're on Lovecraft. So Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. I'm writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since tonight I shall be no more. Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery of morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, as you may guess, though never fully realize why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death. It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim of the German sea raider. The Great War was then and at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation, so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners. So liberal indeed was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time. When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had put little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no islands or coastline was in sight. The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on to the shore of some habitable land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of the unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous. When at last I awaked, it was to discover myself half sucked into the slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monstrous undulations, as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at those prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, it was in reality more horrified than astonished. For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid, with the carcasses of decaying fish and one other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. There, perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet. As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions which for innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of surging ocean, strain my ears as I might, nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things. Several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of the stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently to for traveling, in a short time. That night I slept but little. The next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search for the vanished sea and possible rescue. On the third... Ah! Oh, what's that? I can't read it because it's over there. Is that a... Oh. Oh, thank you, Shog, for the raid. We're reading about Eldritch stories and we get a raid from an Eldritch deity. How fitting. I think she was doing D&D. I hope if it was that, I hope your session went well. Regardless, I hope your stream was nice. Oh god. I lost my place actually though. Ah, okay, no, I know where my place was. Okay, so on the third morning, I found soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but it was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight and evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal. All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert. The night I encamped, and on the following day still traveled towards the hummock, which the object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it. By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from the distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so... Wait a second. Let me check one little thing before I continue. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask a friend how to do that. ah, okay, back to reading. So I was just checking how to do something on Twitch that I do not know how to do. I just realized. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the warning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy. Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me, but I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into the immeasurable pit or canyon whose black recess the moon had not yet soared high enough to illuminate. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. Opposite, through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost, and of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. That's something we need to read on stream, actually, but that's very long, I found out. I thought it was like a short poem or something. No, that's like a full-on book. It's just called a poem because it's like... It is like a poem, but like... It's not that kind of poem. It's not like The Raven. It's not like it's not a 10-minute read. Or rather, 5 to 10-minute read. That's gonna be multiple streams. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined. Ledges and outcroppings of rocks afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent, whilst after a drop of a few hundred feet, the sorry, declivity became very gradual, urged on by the impulse which I cannot definitely analyze. I scram. Hold up, I need to clear my throat. Sorry about that. And that made me lose. I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath the gazing into the Stygian deeps where no light had yet penetrated. Ooh. I need to refill my water, that is a good point, but no, that's just I decided to frog in my throat. Ooh. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead. Yards ahead of me, an object on the opposite slope. Wait, didn't I just read that? An object. Okay, I literally read an object and then jumped to this object somehow. Sorry about that. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself, but I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. A closer scrutiny filled me with a sensation I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures. Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined the surroundings more closely. The moon, now nearer the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps and hemmed in the chasms and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of the water flowed at the bottom, winds out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The right, yeah, I just have something in my throat. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics, unknown to me and unlike anything I had ever seen in books, consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carvings, however, that did most to hold me spellbound, plainly visible across the intervening water on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Dore. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shewn disporting like fish. It was shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips, glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestors of Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born. Awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into the past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist, I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then suddenly I saw it. With only a slight churning to mock its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast, Polyphemus-like, and lonesome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmare to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, and while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds, I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little. I believe I sang a great deal and laughed hardly when I was unable to sing. I have distinct recollections of a great storm some time after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard peals of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in their wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. Once I sought out the celebrated ethnologist and amused. That used to be a thing, ethnologist. Took me a second. And maybe that's still a thing. And amuse him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god, but soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press the inquiries. It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug was given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or contemptuous amusement of my fellow men. Often I ask myself, If it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken, raving in the open boat, after my escape from the German man of war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering in its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likeness on the submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows of to drag down in their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind, of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean floor shall ascend amidst the universal pandemonium. The end is near. I hear the noise at the door as of some immense slippery body is lumbering against it. It shall not find me, God, and the window. That was Dagon. That was Dagon, and if you have any suggestions after that, they are coming. Drink water, man. I don't know, man. What if there's a Dagon in it, man? Man, no, that's an SCP that does that. Okay, but if you have any suggestions, put them up. Make sure it's about... The shorter, the better. I can't, like, read... We have another hour to burn, effectively, so nothing too long, but if you have any suggestions, shoot them out. We are on the... We can actually just go to it right here. We're on the archive for Lovecraft, so we should theoretically have everything. But if we just go to here, 1 minute. Did I click on the wrong thing? Collection of Lovecraft's work. I clicked on the right thing. Hold up, I'll get to that in a minute. I just want to get to all of his work on one page. IDW has... That's a... Okay, well, there's some comics. The Hound. Suggestions: Gabble Window, The Nameless City, The Temple. Okay. Give me one... Why is it... I literally did this before stream. Ah, there it is. Okay. Okay, I got to the right page. Okay, so... The White Ship, The Winged Death. The Temple was one of the ones I think you said. So we're gonna open that in a new tab. I like how it's the reading stream that I get a frog in my throat and I get congested. It just has to be... If it's not one thing, it's another. I only do like one reading stream a month. I want to do more, I just never think of what to read. And of course it's the one stream that I get congested. The Hound. Here. I need to eat frogs though. I'm playing Expedition or whatever the heck it's called 33 tomorrow. I need to get in tune with my inner Frenchman. I must eat the frogs. I must slurp the snails. Oh god. Let's see here. We already read Cats of Ulthar. I almost clicked on that. The name. Okay, see here. The Gabble Window and the Nameless City. Okay. The Nameless City sounds cool. Is that Relay? Okay, these are in alphabetical order, dumbass. The Nameless, the Nameless, the Nameless, the Nameless, the Nameless, the Nameless, the Nameless City, and the Window. Was it the Window? The gabble window. Okay, so yeah, it's a good thing that I scrolled up. And I think the gabble window is is the gabble window written by somebody else, and it's part of the overall Lovecraftian lore. It's one of those because it goes the ghost eater, the meadow. Hold up. No. Okay. Okay. Well, hold up. I'm gonna search for just the term. Let's see here. Find window. Well, I don't think we'll be reading the gabble window, sadly, because it seems that it might not be here. It might be one of those works written by one of his friends. Ooh, to be fair. I'm just gonna assume that's what it is. Or... No, this has, like, his full-length stories as well, I am pretty sure, so I don't know why it doesn't have that, if it is written by him. Ah, okay. Okay. Well, that might be something good to read in the future. What the fuck? Read the temple, thank you. Read the Hound, thank you. Read the Nameless City, okay. Let's see how long these are. You are longer than... Hold on, we're gonna use... Where's Dagon? Ah, no, I don't want his poetry. Let's go to Dagon. I'm just gonna go to Dagon so we can compare it real quick. Dagon. Okay, so this is how... I'll let you guys see. Okay, so you can see the bar now. Okay, so this is how big Dagon... Well, this is how big Dagon is. So we're gonna try to find... Okay, this one's this big. This one is this big. And this one is this big. So... I think that means we have time to read 2 of these, but not all 3. So, Yucatan. The Hound has I was about I was in the middle of saying the Hound has chapters. It has 2. It has 2 chapters. Let's see here. The Hound. Okay, I think I'm gonna read the Hound. And if you have a suggestion for which other one you want to read, if we can only read 2, shoot it out. Ooh. Oh, crap, I hit the wrong button. Okay. But I want to read the Hound because I like dogs. Okay. And before we start, I'm going to go grab myself some more water. Ooh. That was the wrong button. That's embarrassing. Okay. Well, I don't know why this water has already been opened, but I'm gonna assume I'm the one who opened it and play with my life. That's a very old water. That water probably tastes like plastic, it's so old. Okay. Yeah, if anyone on either side can, if they want to say anything, can chime in. Ooh, you can either chime in or listen. Though I'm always fine with lurkers. Mostly because, like, half the time when I watch streams, I'm a pretty big lurker. Am I drinking stagnant water? Technically, it's bottled. I think by definition, like, all bottled water is stagnant if you think about it. I think by definition, it has to be. Like, unless I'm drinking from a fountain, I'm pretty sure all the water I drink... Well, I mean... Yeah, all of it's stagnant, isn't it? If it's not... If you ain't got, like, a fountain or something. Ooh. Fetid water. God damn it, I should know what that word means. Hold up. I should know better. The word that I've heard once in my life. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna check the water. I'm gonna check the old water. Ooh, okay, this one probably should be, like, dumped out, because it... Oh, it tastes fine. I don't know when that one's also been opened, and I don't know when it's been opened, but like I have 2 bottles, 2 like gallons of water that are pretty much full, and both have been opened, so like, you know what? It's fine. If I die, it's okay. It's just part of, I'll just be in character. I'll just get more in character if I die. Don't worry about it, chat. Okay. No dying on stream. That's against TOS, man. I'm already dead. I like to play. I like to live dangerously. Oh god. No graphic content on stream. Fuck, dude. My head's not even attached to my body. Every time I look up, you can see into my neck. It's just a void. Okay. The Hound by H.P. Lovecraft. In my tortured ears there sounds unceasingly a nightmare whirring and flapping in a faint, distant bay as of some gigantic hound. It is not a dream. It is not, I fear, even madness, for too much has already happened to give me these merciful doubts. St. John is a mangled corpse. I alone know why, and such is my knowledge that I am not to blow out my brains, for fear I shall be mangled in the same way. Down unlit and illimitable corridors, of eldritch fantasy, sweeps the black, shapeless nemesis that drives me to self-annihilation. I'm gonna be honest, I did not expect this. I thought after the Cats of Ulthar, we were gonna get like something about actual cats. We're going immediately into like just a word I can't say on YouTube and madness. Just immediately self-annihilation. I'd like to also thank you, Lovecraft, for foreseeing that people would be pansies and you wouldn't be allowed to say the other word. Thank you for that, Lovecraft. Ooh. May heaven forgive the folly and morbidity which led us both to so monstrous a fate, wearied by the commonplaces of the prosaic world, where even the joys of romance and adventure soon grow stale. St. John and I had followed enthusiastically every aesthetic and intellectual movement which promised respite from awe devastating and new. The enigmas of the symbolists and the ecstasies of the pre-Raphaelites, all were ours in their time, but each new mood was drained too soon of its diverting novelty and appeal. Only the somber philosophy of the decadence could hold us, and this we found potent only by increasing gradually the depth and diabolism of our penetrations. Okay. I was not expecting this. Baudelaire and Hossams. Wait, does he mean penetrations as in kith? Or does he mean penetration as in needle? I don't know. He could mean either one. I don't know if he means drugs or carnal. We're soon exhausted of thrills, till finally there remain for us only the more direct stimuli of a natural personal experience and adventures. Probing. uh, oh, not the dirty in that? Okay, 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 okay. Okay. It was this frightful emotional new need which led us eventually to the detestable course which, or it could have also just been meaning it, you know, poetically. Whatever. I mean, no matter what, it's technically being done poetically because it's not, whatever. Detestable course which even in my present fear I mention with shame and timidity, the hideous extremity of human outrage and abhorred practice of grave robbing. Damn it, you made it sound weird, man. That's okay. It's always fun. I cannot reveal the details of our shocking expeditions or catalogs. I hang out with I hang out with a succubus. I can't help it. I have bad influences, chat. I'm impressionable and young. I'm only 250 years old. She's like 3,000, you know? A babe in the woods. I cannot reveal the details of our shocking expeditions or catalog even partly the worst of the trophies adorning the nameless museum we prepared in the great stone house where we jointly dwelt, alone and servantless. Our museum was a blasphemous, unthinkable place where, with the satanic taste of neurotic virtuousy, we had assembled an universe. I've never seen an universe before because the U is whatever. I need to stop interrupting myself. Of terror and decay to excite our jaded sensibilities. It was a secret room far, far underground where huge winged daemons, carven of basalt and onyx, vomited from wide grinning mouths and weird green and orange light, and hidden pneumatic pipes ruffled into kaleidoscopic dances of death, and the lines of red charnel things hand in hand woven in voluminous black hangings. Through these pipes came at will the odorous our moods most craved. Sometimes the scent of pale funeral lilies, sometimes the narcotic incense of imagined eastern shrines of the kingly dead, sometimes, how I shudder to recall, the frightful soul upheaving stenches of the uncovered grave. Practically a young man. Exactly! Okay, so this is where, like, the whole, like, well, not Cthulhu cult, but, like, the whole Eldritch cult thing comes from, I see. Around the wall, well, part of it, around the walls of this repellent chamber were cases of antique mummies alternating with the lifelike bodies perfectly stuffed and cured by the taxidermist arts, and with the headstones snatched from the oldest churchyards of the world. Nietzsche's here and there contained skulls of all shapes and heads preserved in various stages of decomposition. There one might find the rotting bald pates of famous noblemen, and the fresh and radiantly golden heads of newly buried children. Why, statues and paintings there were, all of fiendish subjects, and some executed by St. John and myself. Well, maybe it's not a Catholic cult. We'll get there. A locked portfolio bound in tanned. It's definitely where the aesthetics come from. Bound in tanned human skin. Yes, definitely where the aesthetics come from. Held a son unknown, unnameable drawings which it was rumored Goya had perpetrated but dared not acknowledge. There were Gnosis musical instruments, stringed brass and woodwind, on which St. John and I sometimes produced dissonance of exquisite morbidity, and cacodemonical. I was so close to getting that correct. Cacodemoniacal, that's correct. Cacodemoniacal ghastliness, whilst in a multitude of inlaid ebony cabinets exposed the most incredible and unimaginable variety of tomb loot ever assembled by human madness and perversity. It is of this loot in particular that I must not speak, that God, I had the courage to destroy it long before I thought of destroying myself. The predatory excursions on which we collected our unmentionable treasures were always artistically memorable events. We were no vulgar ghouls, but worked only under certain conditions of mood, landscape, environment, weather, seasons, and moonlight. These pastimes were, to us, the most exquisite form of aesthetic expression, and we gave their details a fastidious technical care. An inappropriate hour, a jarring lighting effect, or a clumsy manipulation of a damp sod would almost totally destroy for us the ecstatic titillation which followed the exhumation of some ominous grinning secret of the earth. Our quest for novel scenes and piquant conditions was feverish and insatiable. St. John was always the leader, and he it was who led the way at last to the mocking, that accursed spot which brought us our hideous and inevitable doom. I thought this was going to go in a very different direction from the start. I thought this was going to be a very different story from the title. By what malign fatality were we urged to the terrible hall and churchyard? I think it was the dark rumor and legendary, the tales of which buried. Oh, that's what they meant by penetration. Oh, it wasn't drugs or sex. Oh, it's all coming together. It makes sense now. Yeah, I did make that sound way dirty. I mean, they are dirty, but like they're literally dirty, like covered in dirt. But like, yeah, like I very much misread that. Wow. I think it was the dark rumor and legendary, and the tales of one buried for 5 centuries, who had himself been a ghoul in his time and had stolen a potent thing from a mighty sepulchre. I can recall the scene of these final moments, the pale autumnal moon over the graves, casting long, horrible shadows, the grotesque trees drooping sullenly to meet the neglected grass and the crumbling slabs, the vast legions of strangely colossal bats that flew against the moon, the antique ivied church pointing a huge spectral finger at the livid sky, the phosphorescent insects that dance like death fires under the hues of the distant corner, the odors of mold, vegetation, and less explicable things that mingled feebly with the night wind from over far swamps and seas, and worst of all, the faint, deep-toned baying of some gigantic hound, which we could neither see nor definitely place. As we heard the suggestion of baying, we shuddered, remembering the tales of the peasantry. For he whom we sought had centuries before been found in his self-same spot, torn and mangled by the claws and teeth of some unspeakable beast. Arguably way worse than both. I've got to. Okay, this isn't sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is just two guys. Like, it's kind of embarrassing that like after it took me that long to realize. Oh wait, because we were already deep in the grave robbing by that point when I realized it. We were, no pun intended, already like. We were already deep in it. We had already dug ourselves into a hole. Again, no pun intended. And when we hit bedrock, then I realized, oh, wait a minute. Cheap viewers, no. Why do you, oh my god, the real horror chat. Ad bots. Fucking, okay. I live in sky, okay. I remember how we delved in the ghoul's grave with our spades, and how we thrilled at the picture of ourselves, the grave, the pale watching moon, and the horrible shadows, the grotesque tree. Oh, wait. Oh no, the grotesque trees, the titanic bats, the antique church, the dancing death fires, the sickening odors, and gently moaning night wind, and the strange, half-heard, directionless baying of whose objective existence we could scarcely be sure. Then we struck the substance harder than the damp mold, and beheld the rotting oblong body crusted with mineral deposits from the long undisturbed ground. It was incredibly tough and thick, but so old that we finally pried it open and feasted our eyes on what it held. When Indiana Jones does it, it's fine. But when other people... Good point. Ooh. Oh, God. I mean, Indiana Jones, though, isn't digging for the bodies. He's just digging for their loot. He's like, okay, you don't need this anymore. Let me take it. Let me take it. It belongs in a museum. Amazingly much was left of the object despite the lapse of 500 years. The skeleton, though crushed in places, I lost my mouse, crushed in places by the jaws of the thing that had killed it, held together with a surprising firmness. And we gloated over the clean white skull and its long, firm teeth, and its eyeless sockets that once had glowed with a charnel fever like our own. In the coffin lay an amulet of curious and exotic design, which had apparently been worn around the sleeper's neck. It was the oddly conventionalized figure of a crouching winged hound or sphinx with a semi-canine face and was exquisitely carved in antique oriental fashion from a small piece of green jade. The expression on its features was repellent in the extreme, savoring at once of death, bestiality, and malevolence. Around the base was the inscription in characters which neither St. John nor I could identify. And on the bottom, like a maker's seal, was graven a grotesque and formidable skull. The crystal skull. Oh fuck, man. Oh no, what if that's the skull they're holding? Oh god. Then it would become a very different type of horror. Oh. Oh, Lucas. Bless your heart. Oh god. But you should have stopped, like, you should have stopped in the 90s, buddy. Maybe you shouldn't have even gotten to the 90s. Immediately upon beholding this amulet, we knew that we must possess it. Did he make an Indiana Jones TV show where, like, Indiana Jones got, like, thrown back, got, like, where there was time travel? I think he did that. I think I only had, like, I think I only had, like, one season. George Lucas, what the fuck, what happened? What happened is he just stopped making shit for a decade and forgot how to make shit, but, you know, like, that's understandable. And also, all of his friends who helped him write died, or were busy. Also understandable. Yeah, okay, it was young Indiana Jones. Actually, I think the young Indiana Jones, I don't know if it's the same actor, but I think they used that actor in the opening sequence for The Last Crusade, which is a nice sequence. We have, like, the kid Indy. Okay, we did not read Necronomicon yet. I think I was Oriental fat, semi-canine face, bestial could identify the bottom of the maker's seal, which was graven cortex formidable skull. Immediately upon beholding this amulet, we knew that we must possess it. That this treasure alone was our logical pelf from the centuried grave. Even had its outlines been unfamiliar, we would have desired it, but as we looked more closely, we saw it was not wholly unfamiliar. Alien, oh god, it might be crystal. No, it's not the crystal skull. He means the different type of alien. It indeed was to all art and literature, which sane and balanced readers know, but we recognized it as the thing hinted in the forbidden Necronomicon of the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred, the ghastly soul symbol of the corpse-eating cult of inaccessible Lang in Central Asia. All too well did we trace the sinister lineaments described of old Arab demonologists, lineaments he wrote drawn from some obscure supernatural manifestation of the souls of those who vexed and gnawed at the dead. Before I read what you guys said, this part made me realize that Johnny Quest is just like a kid-friendly, non-horror Lovecraft story. Just like, yeah, just names and shit, and just like, oh, just like far antiquity and just shit like that. Oh god, I don't know if it's the same actor as The Last Crusade, but I think it is. They at least made him look the same. I can tell you that. Like, they gave him the same hairstyle. They got a similar looking actor, if nothing else. Ooh. Ooh. God. Lang is supposed to be somewhere in Mongolia. Well, we at least know that the Arab guy's somewhere in either Northern Africa or, like, the Middle East. We at least know that much. Seizing the green jade object, we gave a last glance at the bleached and cavern-eyed face of its owner and closed up the grave as we found it. As we hastened from the abhorrent spot and stolen amulet in St. John's pocket, we thought we saw the bats descend in a body, to the earth we had so lately rifled, as if seeking for some cursed and unholy nourishment. But the autumn moon shone weak and pale, and we could not be sure. So too, as we sailed the next day away from Holland to our home, we thought we heard the faint distant baying of some gigantic hound in the background, but the autumn wind moaned and said, sad and wan, we could not be sure. Ooh. Okay. I'm gonna say right now, it's looking like we will read the Nameless City and we will read the Temple, but this is going a little longer than I thought. So I'm actually gonna just say now that we're probably just gonna do those next week, because we're going to be getting to 2 hours a little faster. This is taking a little bit longer than I thought. So we will get to those. We'll just probably have to do them next week, same time, same day. Because I do like this I do like the late night reading of the horror. Less than a week after our return to England, strange things began to happen. We lived as recluses, devoid of friends, alone and without servants, in a few rooms of an ancient manor house on a bleak and unfrequented muir, so that our doors were seldom disturbed by the knock of a visitor. Now, however, we were troubled by what seemed to be the frequent fumblings in the night, not only around the doors, but around the windows also, upper as well as lower. Once we fancied that a large opaque body darkened the library window when the moon was shining against it, and another time we thought we heard a whirring or flapping sound not far off. On each occasion, investigation revealed nothing, and we began to ascribe the occurrence to imagination alone. But that same curiously disturbed imagination which still prolonged in our ears the faint, far baying we thought we had heard in Holland, in the Holland churchyard. The jade amulet now reposed in a niche in our museum. Oh, maybe they are Indiana Jones. You know, it belongs in a museum, Chad. Maybe they're not so different after all. And sometimes we burned strangely scented candles before it. We read much in Alzared's Necronomicon about its properties and about the relations of ghoul souls to the objects it symbolized, and were disturbed by what we read. Then terror came. You knew the item was cursed. Maybe you shouldn't have maybe you shouldn't have plucked it. Sorry for cursing. On the night of September 24th, it's an anime! I heard a knock at the chamber door. Fancying it's St. John's, I bade the knocker enter, but was answered only by a shrill laugh. There was no one in the corridor when I aroused St. John from his sleep. I know it's the other aroused, don't worry, chap, but like, I'm not making that mistake again. He professed entire ignorance of the event and became as worried as I. It was that night that the faint, distant baying over the moor became to us a certain and dreaded reality. 4 days later, whilst we were both in the hidden museum, there came a low, cautious scratching in the single door which led to the secret library staircase, our alarm was now divided. For besides our fear of the unknown, we had always entertained a dread that our grisly collection might be discovered. Extinguishing all lights, we proceeded to the door and threw it suddenly open. Whereupon we felt an unaccountable rush of air and heard, as if receding far away, a queer combination of rustling, tittering, and articulate chatter. Whether we were mad dreaming or in our senses, we did not try to determine. We only realized that with the bleakness of apprehensions that apparently disembodied shadow was beyond a doubt in the Dutch language. Sorry, I just realized something. After that, we lived in growing horror and fascination. Mostly, we held to the theory that we were jointly going mad from our life of unnatural excitements. But sometimes it pleased us more it pleased us more to dramatize ourselves as the victims of some creeping and appalling doom. Bizarre manifestations were now too frequent to count. Our lonely house that was seemingly alive with prescience or with presence of some malign being whose nature we could not guess, and every night that demoniac bang rolled over the windswept muir, always louder and louder. On October 29th, I think that's one whole month, we found in the soft earth underneath the library window a series of footprints utterly impossible to describe. They were so baffling as the hordes of great bats which haunted the old manor house in unprecedented and increasing numbers. The horror reached a culmination on November 18th, when St. John, walking home after dark from the distant railway... Oh, no, it's over a month. It's September 24th from October 29th. Railway station was seized by some frightful carnivorous thing and torn to ribbons. His screams had reached the house, and I had hastened to the terrible scene in time to hear a whir of wings and see a vague black cloudy thing silhouetted against the rising moon. My friend was dying when I spoke to him, and he could not answer coherently. All he could do was whisper, "The amulet. That damned thing." He then collapsed in an inert mass of mangled flesh. I buried him, and the next midnight in one of our neglected... I buried him the next midnight in one of our neglected gardens. Why wait that long? Why, you waited like a full 24 hours. I mean, you're already a sociopath, but like... He was like your one friend. Could you not have given him a day burial? And like also like you're already like afraid of like a night monster coming to kill you. So you do this in the middle of the night. You're just asking to die. This guy, I'm not gonna feel sorry for him at all. You know, the grave robbing I could forgive, but you know, just like horror movie logic, I cannot forgive. I also cannot forgive the grave robbing. That was a lie. They buried him next to the midnight neglected gardens and mumbled over his body one of the devilish rituals he had loved in life. And as I pronounced the last demonic sentence, I heard afar on the moor the faint baying of some gigantic hound. The moon was up, but I dared not look at it. And when I saw on the dim lit moor a wide nebulous shadow sweeping from the mound to mound, I shut my eyes and threw myself face down upon the ground. When I arose trembling, I know not how much later, I staggered into the house and made shocking obeisance before the enshrined amulet of green. Okay, so he's burying him in the middle of the night because, again, they're Satan worshippers and it's the witching hour. So it's literally the holy time for them. Still stupid. You're an idiot. You deserve to die. I mean, I'd be listen, at this point, he's worshiping Satan. He knows demons are real, or at least he believes them. I don't know how much of this is him just being crazy and how much of this is really happening, which is what I kind of like about the Lovecraft story so far. But like, oh no, I can go to jail, you know, and get hung. Because I'm sure, like, because they would hang grave robbers, especially people as prolific as this. But I'd be more like, okay, so like, I'd have a quick death or get torn apart by a Muthdug. I'm going to go with the hanging, Chad. I'm going to be completely honest. Mind you, hanging doesn't work on me because I don't have a neck, but that's not the point. I just fall through. Oh god, oh, the asylums back then were pretty bad. Okay. Being now afraid to live alone in the ancient house on the moor, I departed on the following day to for London, taking with me the amulet after destroying by fire the burial of the rest of the impious collection in the museum. That actually pisses me off. That is uncounted amounts of human history that he's just destroyed. Hundreds of years. Countless lives. Fuck this guy. I hate this man. I despise him with a passion. How dare you? As a Doulahan, I am personally offended by his lack of respect for the dead. But after 3 nights, I heard the baying again, and before a week was over, felt strange eyes upon me whenever it was dark. One evening, as I strolled on Victorian embankments for some needed air, I saw a black shape obscure one of the reflections of the lamps in the water. A wind stronger than the night wind rushed by, and I knew that what had befallen St. John must soon befall me. The next day, I carefully wrapped the green jade amulet and sailed for Holland. What mercy I might gain by returning the thing to its silent, sleeping owner, I knew not. He's not going to be there anymore. But I felt that I must at least try any step conceivably logical. And the Hound was, and why... What the Hound was and why it pursued me were questions still vague. You have the amulet. You know that's why. It's cause you sinned. You're a dirty sinner. But I had first heard the bang of the ancient churchyard and every subsequent event, including St. John. That ST does not stand for saint, but I don't know anything else ST could stand for besides street, and we're not calling him Street John. So he's a St. John still. Dying whisper and served to connect the curse with the stealing of the amulet. Accordingly, I sank into the nethermost abyss of despair when, at an inn in Rotterdam, I discovered that thieves had despoiled me of this sole means of salvation. Oh, maybe they'll get killed instead. Don't jump to conclusions. Maybe now that they have the amulet, they get to die. Oh, it is St. John. There's meaning in there that I'm just not getting. I don't think St. John was decapitated, not thrown to the wolves. His corpse might have been thrown to the wolves, though. I can't remember that much. The baying was loud that evening, and in the morning I read of a nameless deed in the vilest quarter of the city. The rabble were in terror, for upon an evil tenement had fallen a red death beyond the foulest previous crimes of the neighborhood. In a squalid thieves' den, an entire family had been torn to shreds by an unknown thing which left no trace. Oh, the curse was passed on, and those around had heard all night, above the usual clamor of drunken voices, a faint, deep, insistent note as of a gigantic hound. So at last I stood again in the unwholesome churchyard, where a pale winter moon cast hideous shadows, and leafless trees drooped sullenly to meet the withered, frosty grass, and cracking slabs, and ivied church pointed a jeering finger at the unfriendly sky. And the night wind howled maniacally from over frozen swamps and frigid seas. The baying was faint now, and it ceased altogether as I approached the ancient grave I had once violated, and frightened away an abnormally large horde of bats which had been hovering curiously around it. I know not why I went thither unless to pray, or gibber out insane pleas and apologies to the calm white thing that lay within. But whatever my reason, I attacked the half-frozen sod with the desperation partly mine and partly that of a dominating will outside myself. Excavation was much easier than I expected, though at one point I encountered a queer interruption. When a lean vulture darted down out of the cold sky and pecked frantically at the grave earth until I killed him with a blow from my spade. There goes your PETA endorsement. Finally, then again, who cares about PETA? Finally, I reached the rotting oblong box and removed the damp nitrous cover. This is the last rational act I ever performed. For, crouched within the centuried coffin, embraced by a close-packed nightmare retinue of huge, sinewy, sleeping bats, was the bony thing my friend and I had robbed. Not clean and placid as we had seen it then, but covered with caked blood and shreds of alien flesh and hair, leering sentiently at me with phosphorescent sockets and sharp, ensanguined fangs, yawning twistedly in the mockery of my inevitable doom. And when it gave from those grinning jaws a deep, sardonic bay as some gigantic hound, I saw that it held in its gory, filthy claw the lost and fateful amulet of green jade. I merely screamed and ran away idiotically, my screams soon dissolving into the peals of hysterical laughter. Madness rides the star wind, claws and teeth sharpened on centuries of corpses, dripping death astride of bacchanal of bats from the night black ruins of buried temples of Belial. Now, as the baying of the dead, fleshless monstrosity grows louder and louder, and the stealthy whirring and flapping of those of cursed webbed wings circle closer and closer, I shall seek with my revolver the oblivion which is my only refuge from the unnamed, unnameable. I like that one. I don't know if it's intended to be, but at the end it feels like it was like revealed that like it feels like a vampire at the end is kind of what I would say. I know it's called the Hound, but like vampires are often known for being able to have familiars that are hounds and also be able to turn into like hounds and wolves themselves. So I don't know if it is a vampire at the end, but I do like how it is effectively like they pretty much grave robbed a vampire. I like that. Big mistake there. Bit of a whoopsie. Ooh. But yeah, so that's everything for the night. We are actually almost at the 2-hour mark exactly, so we're going to save, definitely, we're going to save the Nameless City and the Temple for next week. It's kind of a shame, because I wanted to do an unarchived stream of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, but I'll have to find another time to do that. That one has to be unarchived because copyright. You get it. I'm just hoping the karaoke rules apply, where like, if I delete it after I do it, I'm safe. But yes, we read Dagon, the Hound. I should do these in order, shouldn't I? The Cats of Ulthar. My brain is just there are two more, Merrick. What were the other two you read? Azathoth, which was really short. The other one. What was the other one? Chat, don't tell me. I'm stupid. Give me a minute. Yes, the one with the computer I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Ooh. God, I feel so stupid right now. I feel so stupid right now. What was the other thing we read? I'm gonna cheat. I'm just gonna look at the thumbnail. Oblivione. Ooh. I don't know how I forgot Oblivione. Okay. But that's what we read today. I'll have all of those chaptered, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you're at this point, you listen to it all if you're in the VOD. But for VOD watchers, I'll chapter them all for them. But this was really fun, and I definitely want to do this more, and I don't know, maybe Thursday. I mean, Thursdays are supposed to be for reading, but maybe midnight horror reading might be something that I'll try to do more often. But we'll be back next week with more Lovecraft. Thank you for joining us. I hope you liked this stream as much as I liked doing it. It was very enjoyable for me. But if I can, I'll try to fit in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, as well as maybe some other short story, because I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream I think is only about an hour-long read overall. But that would be kind of a shorter stream. It'd probably be the Tuesday, or it'd either be a Tuesday stream, or if I can fit it in, maybe a Sunday stream, you know, maybe just like a secret little guerrilla stream. But keep an eye out for that one as well, because I really want to read that. Even though I can't keep it up, I really want to read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, because it's really fun to read. Okay, but we'll be back tomorrow. I'm gonna guess in the evening, probably 10. Not really sure. We're kind of doing more of a free flow style. You'll know beforehand on Twitter or on the Discord, though, don't worry. Or on YouTube. I will announce tomorrow's stream hours in advance, so you won't be surprised by it. If you're on Twitch, though, I can't really help you with that because I don't know how to do notifications on that. But we'll be back tomorrow with Expedition 33, which has been recommended repeatedly to me. Ooh, and I just want to play a game and have some relaxation. So thank you for joining us for this reading. We will be back tomorrow, as I just said. And and we'll also be having a Discord watch along over the weekend. I was going to do Lilo and Stitch because topical, but I don't think that's going to come in the mail. So instead, we're just going to do Genndy Tartakovsky's Star Wars Clone Wars. So if you can join us for any of those, it'd be highly appreciated. But in the meantime, have a great day, a wonderful life, and remember, don't lose your head. That's the wrong song. That's the correct song. And let me see if I can send you guys off anywhere. Ooh. I'm gonna try to raid out Twitch, because normally I don't have this many people to raid out with, so... Oh, but it's really late. And I don't know any of these people who are streaming. I don't want to... Oh, God. If anyone has suggestions on who to raid out to, I'd highly appreciate it. I really want to send you guys somewhere. Is Bagsterd streaming? Sure. Okay, I'll send you on Twitch out to Bagsterd. Okay. I'll send you guys to him. Oh, he's sleeping, son of a bitch! Well, whatever. And I'll try to very quickly, hopefully, find a place to link out YouTube to. Oh, I'll link you out to Power Lines. And YouTube, you can have Power Lines to be linked out to. Just in time.